everybody. Welcome to What I Did with Music Today during quarantine, day 2, with your host, Mr. Liss, aka KJ or Kyle Liss. Today is April 1st, April Fool's Day. Happy April Fool's Day. And what I wanted to talk with you today about, no joke, is learning by ear. So this is a really interesting topic. There's, so many different ideas about what it is to learn by ear or what it is to have a good ear as a musician. And there's all these, conceptions that you're either like born with a good ear or you're not as a musician. So a lot of people think, well, I either have a good ear or I don't. And there's like no in between. And when I was younger, growing up as a musician, people would always ask me, well, can you just listen to a song and play it on the piano? And I'd be like, no. And, I'd get really self-conscious about that. And I'd feel like, man, I don't have a good ear. And there's a lot of this is kind of part of the talent myth that maybe someday I'll talk about a little more, but it's like this myth that as a musician, you either have a good ear or you don't. And in reality, having a good ear, being able to learn songs by ear is just another skill, like any other skill in music that we acquire over time through practice, right? Every skill in music is all just about practice and dedicated effort and enjoyment, and then learning over a long period of time. So my ear has improved greatly over time as I've needed it to when I've needed it to learn songs for gigs and things like that. So today I was out for a run. It's one of the only things I'm still leaving the house for, and just to run around the neighborhood. And I was listening to some music by a band that I absolutely love called Lettuce. So if you are not familiar with this band, Lettuce, you should totally check them out. I was partly listening to funk because I'm going to have a meeting tonight with a friend of mine, Neil Francis. If you haven't heard his music, you should also check that out. He is an incredible artist, an incredible human. He's doing such big things. Right before all this COVID craziness, he was about to go on a international tour all around Europe and all around the world. And of course, that's been postponed. But luckily, he's going to get to play in Japan later this year. And if you have not heard this album, Changes, you absolutely should. There's so many great songs in here, but I'm just going to play the beginning of this one. These are the days.
These are the days. You're the races and then they're gonna let down the ways that I've done you wrong.
So yeah, if that piques your interest, please go check him out, give his album a listen, and support him during this time we're all in. And I was listening to this funky music, and I was just thinking, what should I talk about today? And I thought, maybe I'll learn this tune, like the main riff to this tune, and I'll kind of talk about what that process is like, okay? So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of this, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so I've shifted over here to my keyboard so that I can show you. This is one of actually many keyboards that I have in this little home studio here. I'm super grateful that everything is set up and ready to go during this time and that everything is at home. So this is my Moog synthesizer. Moog is a really famous brand of synthesizer, if you're not familiar, that's been around for many, many years now and is kind of a little bit of the gold standard of synthesizer keyboards. So this is my Moog. This is what I chose to transcribe. So transcribe means learning by ear and then figuring something out, and sometimes notating it in standard music notation, sometimes not. I decided to use my Moog because the riff that I'm learning here from this Lettuce tune is mainly a guitar riff. So the Moog is like the closest thing I have to being able to kind of get like a guitar-like sound. And this patch I chose, this Moog synth sound I chose, is kind of the most guitar-like one that I got. So what does this process look like? This isn't really a tutorial. This is just like a quick share. What did I do? Kind of what's going through my head, kind of thinking aloud, the process for me. So the very first thing, of course, is I'm going to listen to what's going on here in this Lettuce tune. So I'm going to play it for you. So I'll listen to that probably several times until I figure out what kind of the format of the riff is. So this is kind of like a pretty simple riff, but there's so much awesome, like funky complexity to the way it's executed. But basically it's just like an A and a B. It's kind of like a statement and then almost a question and then an answer. So listen and see if you can pick that up. And then I'll just kind of give you the answer that it repeats over and over again like that, just with some very slight variations in instrumentation, where the horns come in a little bit and the bass comes in there where I just stopped. So it's kind of like this question and this answer with this main body that goes, yeah, da 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 da. So what I do is I try to listen to it to the point where I can sing it. It took me a long time to get comfortable with this. And if you've heard me talk, students of mine, if you've heard me talk about ear training before, then you've heard me say stuff like this. But singing it feels a little awkward at first because you're like, well, I'm not a singer. I'm a keyboardist or a guitarist or I'm a saxophonist or whatever. But singing is like the main direct connection between music we hear either in our head or out in the world, and then music that we play on our instrument. I firmly believe that. I started believing that maybe about 10 years ago, and it only grows deeper, my conviction in that, day by day. So I really just try to listen until I can sing. So I'll play that first note again so I can hear it. Ya da 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 da. Da ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 da. Now, that's not like great singing. I don't claim to be a vocalist, but it helps me to translate it. So I will then, once I can sing it, I'll try to figure out the first few notes, right? So like, oh, okay, that's right. Or maybe I accidentally, like when I was first doing it, you're not seeing the exact process. So I definitely went, oh, that's wrong. But, oh, that's right. I could just hear how that, second way that I accidentally played it or thought it might be was wrong. So I just kind of mess with that. Na, da, 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 and I'm trying to sing at the same time as I'm playing. And that's really a big part of the process for me personally, is singing simultaneously with playing, because that's guiding, as I'm singing the notes and playing them on my keyboard, that's guiding me to understand, was that right or was that not correct what I just did? So, ya da 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 da, ba ba da da da, ba da da da, ba da da, ba da 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 da, ba ba da da da, ba da da da, ba 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 ba. So what you're missing in this video is, of course, the process, which didn't take me instantaneous, but it was pretty quick. I maybe spent, 4 or 5 minutes learning this riff total. And what I was really paying attention to was some of the nuance of the execution of it. So it's little things like, is it da 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 da, or da 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 da, like where are notes connected and where are they disconnected? Because with funk, the notes themselves might be a little bit on the simpler side in terms of the scale construction of a melody, of a riff, but the execution is really precise. And especially a band like Lettuce, the execution is really, really important. It's like it has to be, you kind of have to nail the execution for it to really sound like the riff. There's a big difference between or then we get into some of that pitch bend expressive stuff that you can do on a synth. So that's just, the basic process is I'm singing, I'm listening, I'm stopping, I'm rewinding. Maybe I'm only listening to a little chunk at a time, but my main steps are figure out the format, right? So the format is like this phrase with a kind of question at the end, and then another phrase with a kind of answer at the end. Figure out that format, then get to the point where I can sing it, and then once I can sing it, I try to go onto my keyboard and figure it out from there. So that's the basic process. The next thing I want to show you is what this looks like in written music, because maybe you're a little bit curious. So we'll bounce back to my computer here. All right, so now we are in a piece of software called Sibelius. This is the piece of notation software that I personally use. The big ones, if you don't know, are Sibelius and Finale, but I kind of grew up on Sibelius thanks to my mentor, Jason Patera. He taught me how to use it when I was in high school, and I did a lot of work with him in Sibelius, and so this is just what I happen to use. I don't really think one is better than the other. It's just kind of like a, Pepsi Coke kind of thing. There's always going to be a debate. So this is a chart, or what we call maybe like a lead sheet, or just the riff notated in standard music notation. Everyone's always curious, well, what does it look like on paper? And students of mine, maybe you're curious, well, what does that look like on paper? So I just took a few minutes to just write it out so you could kind of see and have this visual depiction of what this is. Now, there's a lot of subjective decision making in this process. I chose to put what's called a slur here to show that these first 4 notes are kind of connected. So let's listen to that and see if you can pick that up. So to me, he kind of connects those first 4 notes, as opposed to I find them to sound more connected. So I notated it that way. I put this note in parentheses here because for me it sounded like what's called a ghost note, or like this little note where it might be muted a little bit on the guitar, or it might be kind of more implied than really hit hard. So sometimes we put those what we call ghost notes in parentheses. So this is the entire riff. It's really only 4 measures because I'm counting 1, 2, 3 with the music. I'll show you what that's like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm counting slow like the tempo it actually is. I actually forgot to put a time signature here. Let's put that in. There we go. You'll get to see me fix this chart up a little bit. There we go. So now we have our 4/4 time signature, and you can see what this looks like. So again, some of the lengths are subjective, but this is how I chose to put it. So now that I have this riff, I notate it for different reasons. First of all, so I could show you, but second of all, maybe so that I don't forget it. You know, it's easy sometimes to forget things and just kind of lose track of them over time. So this is just now an artifact of the work I did today with music, so that I can always like remember it more quickly, than if I just had learned it by ear. For me, it works a little better that way. So the last thing I'm going to do here for you is now I'm going to put it all together, and I'm just going to show you what it sounds like with me playing that riff with the Lettuce tune. And just for fun, I'm just going to shred a little bit over it too, just because this is a really fun tune. I was kind of getting hyped up about just like playing some synthesizer over it on my run. So this is just a little bit of me playing over this Lettuce tune. Again, it's called Play, and we'll fade out with me just doing some soloing, some improvisation. Hope you guys enjoy this, and tune in again tomorrow for another episode of this little video blog. All right, have a good one, y'all.